What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 88 of It's Just Bodybuilding. I'm here with Dusty Hanshaw, myself, Big Ron Partlow, and today we're going to go through Instagram questions like normal, talk about our exciting lives, and being meatheads.
Ron, the big came back and I felt much better.
I threw it in there just to see if you'd notice.
Of course I fucking noticed. It just didn't work for me last time. I actually thought about deleting. I never watched the episode just because of that. Not that I watched any of the other ones either, but this one was because of that.
So sure. We got to do the like, share, subscribe, comment, ring the bell. We got to do that. We appreciate everyone. So he'll put the little graphic up to remind you. Yes. So I thought I'd do something funny just because I could think of one, and I thought, well, there's probably a few. So we're episode 88. So I looked up famous athletes to wear the number 88.
Eric Lindros.
Eric Lindros was the one that came to mind, right? Because we're hockey guys.
Yes.
Right? Can you name anyone else that wore an 88 in any other sport, like a big famous player?
Troy Aikman? No, he was 8. I don't know. No.
So Michael Irving.
There we go. I was close. See?
Yeah. You were seeing
right team.
Right era. Wait, same era too. Wasn't he thrown to him?
Yes.
Yeah. And Tony Gonzalez, the safety from the Steelers.
I wouldn't have got that one.
Oh, no. He's a tight end. Sorry. He's a tight end. 12-time Pro Bowler. Yeah. Sorry. I had him mixed up with Palomalu.
Ah, yes.
Yeah. So number 88.
Love that. Great hair commercials.
Great hair commercials. I think they both could have done hair commercials.
It's fantastic.
Okay. So how you been doing?
Fantabulous. It's been busy. I finally started today's day one of my plan with Jordan. It's really nice. It's nice to hand over the wheel, man. I'm like looking at a piece of paper. Every choices on food.
Every time I talk to you, I feel like you're just did.
I've done my first day one, but this is mine with someone else.
Yes.
And he's fucking killing me with, you know what 100 grams of pineapple looks like? It's like 4 bites.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I was so sad. I was like, I had to find I need to get a smaller plate because it fucks up my pictures.
Well, what's you throw it in for, because it could help with digestion.
Yeah, it's just in with meals. I think because we don't. You know me. Like I don't even ask questions. I don't discuss. Yeah, I told him in the beginning. I don't have a huge appetite, and I haven't eaten 6 meals in a day in 2 years. Yeah. So I just told him that. So I have a feeling I've got fruit in every meal. Okay. Well, not every meal, but quite a few. So it's really brought the volume down. So that's nice. That particular meal was just 100 grams of rice uncooked, and then that and 100 grams of pineapple for carbs. So it's easy to knock down.
What does 100 grams of rice uncooked turn into? About 200. Oh, okay. So what do you call that for carbs?
Wouldn't that be 60 something?
Right. Okay. Yeah. We're on the same page with that.
Yeah. You know so, but it's good. It's it's funny. I had a lot of people ask why I would hire someone. It's this exactly, because there's no thinking, there's no alterations. I spent the money and I'm a cheap bastard. So, I'm going to follow this shit now. And that's it.
It is nice to not have to do the thinking.
Yeah. And I've already worked with Jordan. So I'm there'll be a few things I'm sure I'll grab from this, but primarily, I've kind of seen, what he does. I like to hire people, as you know. I've hired a ton of people, and I'll work with them for a month or two just to see what they do, and then there's my little education. I move on. But we did 6 months. I prepaid 6 months. Gonna try to get me up to at least 186 pounds. It's gonna be monstrous.
What do you weigh right now? Are you 300?
No, I was 292 this morning.
Okay, so you're 300 at night with pizza.
Yeah, which is funny. I had a pizza last night for my final hurrah.
Oh, there you go.
Nothing good though, just Domino's. Sucked.
Okay.
So same old. So we have to cover this because I got inundated. Good word. Apparently, Jay Cutler will also whore out himself for birthday wishes, have a good workout, whatever. People really wanted me to know this. Now, I'm stunned. I'm saddened. But then I thought of something. I didn't know about this. So maybe he doesn't push it out there too hard. Because, for example, Ron, I was telling Scott this, like, I don't sell dirty socks or posing trunks. But if you want to reach out and ask me for the creepy shit, I mean, I'll fucking sell it to you. Like, sure. You want me to, sure, fuck it. I'm a whore. Let's do this. But I don't have like a spot on my website. It's like Dusty's Dirty Socks. But I mean, you want to toss me $25? Sure, done.
You're really not a fan of this concept at all, are you?
No, that's why I went with dirty socks and underwear as a comparison. Yes. You know what it is? This is why, though. Listen, people will buy it, so why wouldn't you sell it? I understand. But this is how I look at it. Hey, Ron, will you wish me a happy birthday really quick? Sure, happy birthday. Oh, my God, it means so much to me that you said that. That's exactly what's happening. You're paying someone. So I guess what it would be is if I hired Jay to wish you a happy birthday, I'm saying happy birthday to you, Ron, but I'm not nearly special enough, so I'm going to let someone you give a fuck about say it for me.
Huh. I'm finding this fascinating. So the Ronnie thing, I wasn't nearly as bothered by it as you were. I thought it was surprising.
Yeah.
I thought it was more expensive than it was surprising. I was like, oh, that's
$300. I like that you said a small fee.
Right. I thought it was pretty
good money, and $300 is a lot of fucking money.
But then I thought, oh, maybe that's just how it works. And then I thought maybe I'm just so like jaded about all this. I don't know. Like, and then Jay's doing it, but what's he charging? 75?
That's what I heard. I haven't actually seen it, but yeah.
Because I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just because I'm sort of surprised that there's a market is maybe what catches me off guard.
Yeah, I mean, I'm stunned there's a market. I mean, I get that
I guess it's a thing.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a thing and people do it and people buy, I understand. But I don't know. Like, I had somebody on my Q&A ask me to wish them a happy birthday. I'm like, fuck yeah, done. At no point in my life am I going to think that my happy birthday should come with a fee of $75 to $300.
What if maybe Jay's getting like 100 people a day asking for them though, and he's like, oh well, this is just.
Well, maybe and maybe he is. I mean, knowing Jay, he's probably printing money on the deal. I just, what it is everyone's got their own things, and I guess what it is at some point I feel like the cool thing about bodybuilding is you can reach us, versus I always say, like, you're not reaching out and getting Brian Urlacher to shoot you a quick text or answer your Q&A real fast. So I think it's just in my brain, I guess I don't view fame like normal people do on any level. Like, Jay is a cool guy to me. He won some Olympias, he's got a cool job. You know what I mean? So it's so hard for me to fathom that, but I guess people buy baseball cards. I don't fucking know. It's just a weak comparison to me. It's really hard for me to understand. But again, I like money. And if there's a market for it and you got to spend 36 seconds saying happy birthday to make $75, okay. I mean, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think I could have Kendra do it for topless for probably 100. And now we're getting into my kind of fame.
Right, yeah. Because I have seen those videos available.
See, and Jay was in his underwear for his career. She went without them in hers.
Right. There we go.
Something to think about, everyone, when you're thinking of who you want to wish your child a happy birthday. Kendra Luss will do it topless.
So I have a question that begs itself now.
Yes. You
raise your cup, and it's not a quad espresso with two
No,
Splendas.
I've changed, dude.
What are you drinking?
This is a salted caramel nitro cold brew with 2 Splenda.
So is that whipped cream on top? What the fuck is all that foam?
They put foam on the top, and then they put my Splenda on it. So when it comes through, I get hits of Splenda.
Craziness. What's that? $8?
5 something, yeah. Yeah. Listen, okay. No one ever said I was smart. Was really close.
You're upset. You're upset that Jay's making $75 and you're spending probably almost $6 on it.
I'm supporting people. Rich demicunts.
Oh, Dusty. You know what?
They even try to make me wear a mask in there, so I have them bring it out to me instead.
I the mask stuff, man. Everyone's just so over it. Yeah. It's funny though, like, you know, I'm around a lot of people that they're like, yeah, I just wear it because I have to, because we have to do this little dance right now. Like, that's what 99% of people that I engage with seem to say. They're like, yeah, I guess we got to wear these masks for now, but you know, whatever. I can't wait to not wear it. But then when you go online and you read the comments on some of the stuff.
Oh yeah.
And you read what like the insane mask for lifer type people say.
Yeah.
That's when I'm like, wow, like there's people out there like this. And they really bother me. I think they're mentally ill. Oh yeah. I'm not talking to someone who thinks it's a good idea to wear a mask on a packed train. That's not what I mean.
No, you're talking about the people that are losing their mind on my video because I went into Best Buy alone.
Or they're losing their mind. Like I saw there was an article about gyms on one of the news sites.
Right.
And there was a picture of like a 70-year-old man doing incline dumbbell flies. And he had a mask on. Everyone in the photo had a mask on, but his mask was like half off. Like it was like blocking half of his nostrils. It wasn't like down here, you know?
Yeah.
And the comments were 50% of the fucking comments were, his mask isn't even on properly.
Right.
Like, that gym's unsafe. I can't believe someone should shut that gym down. That picture was taken. That's evidence of them not following
proof.
Like, proof. Like, there's people on there commenting like that. And I'm just like, you people are deranged. Fucking deranged. And so now I have this little battle in my head. When I see someone who's outside with a mask on, like walking on the sidewalk by themselves.
Yeah, it irritates you.
And like, I'm talking isolated.
Yeah.
Like there's bike paths all by my house and shit. So you're driving and you see people walking completely alone. Yeah. And they're wearing their mask. I think, okay, I try not to get fucking angry. Because I think you fucking psycho, you brainwashed psycho. But then the other half of me goes, maybe they're just really busy and they forgot they had it on. And they just walked out of the store and they're on their phone because they're like in a hurry and they just forgot they had it on. You know what I mean? So I'm trying not to let it bother me. But fuck, like there's it's really weird. But I don't seem to find, none of them seem to ever engage me.
I don't think many are going to engage you in general. I got berated going into AJ's one time by a lady as I was walking in. She was like, not even wearing a mask during a goddamn pandemic. And I was like, I go, are you talking to me? Obviously, you're not wearing a mask. I go, oh, all right, well, fuck off. Have a good day. Like, it blew my mind. I was like, your blood pressure went that high? Mine didn't go that high when you yelled at me. I was like,
So I want to be clear. Like, it's not healthy for us to be so angry at one another in a multitude of ways like we are right now.
Oh, for sure. And that's why I don't care when people do wear them. Like, I'm like, do your fucking thing. Rock your mask. And wear your mask.
I'm also not even saying that I'm right because I don't want to be angry.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I'm not like arguing for I'm like, I don't want to be angry. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's a really weird situation right now. But yeah, we gotta get back to normal soon.
I just prefer it the same way I look at my Instagram. This is just how I do it. Like, that's how I remind people when they jump on and scream at me for my training or my eating being wrong. I'm like, where did I try to sign you up to do what I do, or my program, or nowhere? Yeah, because this is just a little intro into my life, and
Right.
If I'm doing it dead ass wrong, that's okay. You can know that in your head and move right the fuck along.
Yes, I agree. Okay.
You know, very interesting. So
now, I know you got a lot of good questions.
Well, I don't know if they're any good, but I got a lot of questions for sure.
You got a lot of questions. Okay.
I want to be specific. I have to look to decide if I think they're good. But of course they are. My people are actually, we've had some interesting questions lately. Let me see. And I did it early, dude. So there's going to be a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot. Let's see. Jesus, open.
Because I can go first.
Please do.
Here's a good one. Now, there might not be one, but if there is, or more than one, tell us about one. Have you ever wanted to quit bodybuilding? Just walk away from it.
No. But my no is bodybuilding. I'm not somebody who thinks you have to compete to be a bodybuilder.
Right.
So no, I have not. But I definitely have gotten sick. It's kind of similar to the conversation we were just having of the industry and of the sport of bodybuilding. I think the amount of ass kissing that goes on in the ranks is fucking embarrassing. Like, I'm blown away at the amount of people, for example, and I'm sure if I gave a fuck, this would get me in trouble. Tyler Manning has a birthday, okay? Every asshole that hears about it posts about it. He don't know you. Stop kissing ass. You look like a fucking moron.
Who's Tyler Manning? Is that like a real example?
Yeah. It's awesome that you don't know that.
Sorry. Is that terrible?
This is Jim Mannion's or J.M. Mannion's son. He's the vice president of NBC and one of the head judges of all the pro shows. But my point is, it's like,
I was thinking competitor. I was like,
do you guys actually think that he's like taking note of that and making sure, like, oh, Dusty Hanshaw never. The reason I don't do well in bodybuilding is I didn't wish Tyler Manning a fucking happy birthday. It's not because I have a wide waist.
Right.
Like,
okay.
I find that part. So that part of the sport, yes. The competitive side, I have trouble really caring about. But bodybuilding itself, no. I will bodybuild on some level until I'm dead.
Right.
For sure. You know, I mean, in my head, you still bodybuild. You follow a diet for a goal and you train.
I had egg whites for
bigger
breakfast
anymore, you know?
You know, people who aren't like egg whites for breakfast, that's still bodybuilding.
You did what?
You know what I mean? No, it's I agree with you. So I thought long and hard. I was like, I don't think there's ever been a time I've even considered, like, from day one to when I officially finished competing, there was not a single break mentally in there of not wanting to do it.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had some, like, you know, I had a couple of shows where I was so disappointed with not winning, like that I was like, fuck, I don't know if I can do this anymore. But it was all like competing related. It wasn't like I didn't want to train or anything like that. So yeah, I don't know. It's kind of interesting, and you know, maybe that's a requirement to do it as long as I did. Like, you can't have second thoughts. You can't, you know, be constantly, you know, oh, I don't know about this, you know, that sort of thing. You know what I mean?
But I think you actually enjoy bodybuilding. And
oh yeah.
I didn't say enjoyed, I said enjoy.
Oh
so
yeah.
That's why you keep rolling. You know what I mean? And it's the same, like, when I think of stopping competing, I don't think of quitting bodybuilding. Just stop competing. Like, I didn't make an active decision to not compete for a few years. I just didn't. It wasn't like the driving force anymore, and that was it. You know what I mean? Like, there will never be a day of an announcement of retirement. Like, I'm not Dexter Jackson. No one gives a shit.
I remember when my one buddy, he wrote, this guy that I know, he wrote like a retirement post. And then, like, his training partner came on and he's like, you never turned pro. you can't retire from something that you didn't turn pro at. It's like, it's just a hobby. Unless you had a pro card, it was just a hobby. And he was like bugging him. It was
he did it on purpose. Yeah, but it's funny because we as a group do that, and it's fine. I mean, everybody should do what they want, but it's like, could you imagine if I was like playing, softball every year, and I just put up the post like, hey guys, it's time to walk away from the game.
Gonna hang them up.
It's just time. I have like a picture of my glove that I throw in the trash. Bro, you play softball with your wife.
Get your wife to take a picture of you walking away from the outfield, like holding your glove from behind with just your number. And the sun setting in the you know what I mean? Like Field of Dreams.
Exactly.
Get that Field of Dreams shot. Walking away from the game.
It's just too much for me now.
Body just can't take it anymore.
I mean, it's very similar, right? I mean, I know that people like don't get it, but it's like that's how I look at even myself. To be honest with you, like the day that I like decide not to compete anymore, it's not like you put up an announcement that you were retiring from competing. You just like I've had people now that are like, so when's Ron going to compete next? I'm like, do you ever follow us? Even like a little bit.
Also, there's like. I think sometimes people take me too seriously because I do use the word retired, but I sort of always feel whenever I type it, I always feel like I'm sort of making fun of myself for using it. Like it's kind of funny to me. And then I know some people, they'll talk to me really serious, like, oh, when you retired from bodybuilding? I'm like, actually, I just got busy. We opened a gym, and I was like, fuck that.
I don't have time for this shit right now.
My leg was still fucking hurt, and I was busy running a gym, and thought, oh, shit, life goes on. That's kind of more what happened. But, yeah, it wasn't like I had this, like, night where I sat down and cracked a bottle of whiskey and, like, had a little talk with myself about the future, It's quite a racket.
It's time. Oh my God. Ooh. Okay. We're going to ask this in both directions because obviously I never put up that these are for the show because I get better questions and then I answer them on the show and then I also answer them on my own. So the question is, what is the favorite thing that you've learned about Ron from the podcast? From the podcast. This is tough because I have to remember. Like, I don't think people understand. I have to.
I know a lot of
shit.
You know a lot of the fucked up stuff from personal.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a thing I learned from the podcast, but it's definitely been highlighted on the podcast. Is that I truly believe that you might know more information about everything than anyone I've ever known. Do you know how there's people, Ron, and there's a difference. I have to specify this because you wouldn't understand this. But sometimes you'll talk to someone and it's like they have something to say about everything, but they don't know shit.
Right.
You're like, oh yeah, I was reading in the 1926 Journal of Medicine. And I'm like, why were you reading that?
It came up in my feed.
Like, how did that fucking happen? So yes, I find that that's fascinating because I'm an expert in like 7 things.
Right.
But if you add an 8th thing, I'm like, huh?
Right.
No, I've never read about, like Jeopardy or whatever those fucking games are. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Like their first question, I'm like, can I call Ron? They're like, seriously, we're asking you your favorite color. I'm like, can I call Ron? I'm not certain if it's red or black.
Well, I appreciate that. And then I've always had this like horrible fear of being the person that someone turns to when they need that, and I can't help them.
Girl, you asked the one fucking question I don't know.
So I used to be really good at Trivial Pursuit as a kid. So like when I was like 12, 13 years old, I would sit with my parents and all the adults because they'd have like all the farmers over for dinner and they'd all be drinking rum. And they'd play a big game of Trivial Pursuit, like 8 people, 10 people, And I would always wind up on somebody's team. And like, I was a pretty good teammate.
I was going to say in the beginning, they're like, fuck, we got the kid.
There's stuff I didn't know, but as like a kid, there'd be some stuff I'd rip on, like a science question would come up and I'd fucking nail it. And everyone would be like, holy shit. I remember that, it's pretty funny. Yeah, I remember
just had me get drinks.
My favorite Trivial Pursuit memory is actually I was actually at an ex-girlfriend's house. We were really, really close friends, but we had dated previously, but we were really close friends, and I didn't have anywhere to go for Christmas that year. Right. It was like just a weird year. My family wasn't really meeting on Christmas, and so she's like, well, come over to my dad's house or whatever. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So I go over there. Family feeds me a big turkey dinner. We're playing Trivial Pursuit.
Right.
And I think it's like, guys versus girls or something, right? And I'd had a couple of hockey pops, right? And I probably smoked some weed with her because we were big stoners at the time. And so, I'm feeling pretty good, and I'm loose. I'm cracking jokes. I got the adults laughing, right? I'm about 24 years old at this point.
Okay.
I got people laughing. I'm like, I'm having fun. I'm trying to make her regret not dating me.
Nice.
I'm just kidding. I
like it. I feel good
so
about
anyways, that. We go to win the game.
Right.
We need the pink pie to win the game. And we land on the thing to win. And I say, going for the pink pie. Story of my life.
In front of the dad of the
everybody. And she just looks at me.
This is great. That's so something I would say.
And I realized that it was my outside voice that said it.
Because it was not in your mind.
It just came out like just. I was like, oh fuck. And it was funny because like half the people kind of laughed. And then half of the adults were just like silent. Fucking comes up, Pink's Entertainment.
Right.
Star Trek question.
Get the fuck out.
Star Trek question. Yes. What is the nickname of the Doctor on the original Star Trek? Bones. We win. I'm the champ. I looked so fucking good. Anyways, that's
Bones
my favorite.
Got you the pursuit. Pink pie, by the way. I just want to throw that out there.
Going for the pink pie. Story of my life.
Oh my God, that's great. I just like to see the awkwardness of half of the room.
Yeah, when adults are like,
Do we not laugh?
Pretty funny.
We're doing this situation. Good stuff. You're up.
Okay. I don't know how I got to that story.
This is what we do.
This episode already doesn't make any sense to me.
This is how we make it like 4 questions in 2 hours every time.
So sometimes all I do is I pull up the episode just to like, and I'll look at the timestamps because I quite often can't remember.
Right.
The timestamps are like, I'm like, oh yeah. And then every once in a while we get an episode of timestamps are like Thai hookers. Best
Why did we spend 45 minutes on Thai hookers?
Best volume for hypertrophy. And then the next question, crack. And then the next, and I'm like, how do any of these go together? Like some of the topics.
How did we flow into this disaster?
Yes. Okay. So that was, yeah. Isn't it your turn?
I'm gonna get someone that turns right. No, I asked you the thing I learned about you from the podcast.
Oh, so now I have to say something about you that I learned from the podcast.
That's a short-lived one, but go ahead. You learned I got a new drink.
I learned that you secretly travel.
I do.
More than I knew.
I'm always on the move, but it's not like Canada. We don't travel for $7,000 to go across the country.
Yeah,
it's like cheap. $50 and a stick of gum. You're good to go.
You travel a lot and you don't put it on Instagram.
Yeah, I have a very.
You don't always put it up.
No, or if I do, people will catch it because I'm at a different gym, and I'll tag the gym, but I won't even say I'm out of town.
That's half the time. The only way I know that you're. And then I'm not sure. Was that a throwback?
Yeah, right.
You filmed that last week.
Got to look. Yeah, the only thing you've got going for you is now I've got markers of tattoos that help people. They're like, you fucking liar. Shoulder tattoos not there.
Right. And another thing too that I got to give you credit for, because it's like a trait that I like, is it's very obvious that you have a really hard time with like fakeness.
Yo, yes.
It really bothers you. which is good, you know. And I'm not talking fakeness like you like nice watches and stuff. That's not the same. I'm talking like the stuff that you were saying, like, you know, doing things just to get in with people and that sort of stuff really bothers you.
That's a nauseating situation, which is very common, you know. I had, you know, what's funny? It's on the similar subject. When I got into bodybuilding and I started getting myself in the game, Dante told me, he said, listen, this industry, people will use your face as a step stool if they can. And I was like, you know, glass is half full situation. I'm like, that's not how it is. Yeah, that is how it is. Yeah. Like, you know, and I think that's why maybe some of the fans don't realize why there's such closeness amongst some of us, because the core group of, if you see me with someone, they're not one of those people ever.
Right.
Not to me or anyone else. You know what I mean? And it's cool because the range of who those people are is pretty lengthy, but it's definitely something I now warn people of. Like, hey, if you got like thin skin or it's going to hurt your feelings that people fuck you over, probably should do something else with your time.
It's funny. I don't know why this came up, but I'm just going to blurt it out. This reminds me that I was just talking to Rob Bailey last week.
Wow.
Haven't chatted with Rob for a while, you know, and this sort of chat about, you know, fake people and bullshit and stuff just reminded me, like, of a real, you know, person. Every time I talk to Rob, he's one of those fucking, he does not give a fuck.
No.
You know, at all. Like it's refreshing, and Rob's an example of what can happen in your life when you just focus on you.
Right.
And I don't mean that he hasn't like helped people out and done all sorts of great shit for people. But, you know, everyone's like worried about other people's business. He doesn't give a fuck. All that time that you might spend, like the average person spends thinking about what this person thinks or that person thinks, or this person did that, I can't believe they would. You know what I mean? He wouldn't spend a second of time thinking about your bullshit.
No, but isn't it funny to you? It is to me that so many people look up to people like him for being real, but then they're not.
They don't recognize that that's one of the things they have to do, is be like that.
Yeah. And whatever that is, because at the end of the day, it's so trite, but it's very true, is you're you no matter what that is.
Yeah.
So just own that shit. And the people who are around you will be the right ones. And the people who are turned off by it, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I don't keep score. I can't imagine if you have a strong personality, people are not going to like you. People are also going to like you. But, you know, you're definitely not going to be that person that everyone's like, oh, that Dusty Hanshaw's a good dude. Like, nah. You're getting rid of 50-50.
He saw one of my bike vids.
Right.
And, like, we haven't chatted in a while. And he messaged me and he's like, how the fuck did I miss this?
Yeah. But imagine that. Like, so you've been doing this for so long, and he's thinking Ron the bodybuilder. And all of a sudden he's like, what? Wait, who was that? Actually Ron on the bike?
Yeah, it's just funny. He's like, how did I fucking miss this? And we started chatting. But yeah, just, you know.
I had a moment about you yesterday, actually, coming into my condo. Oh. I'm pulling up, and it's kind of funny, but I live in a, people here, they have money.
Well, you live in an affluent city to begin with.
Yeah,
like the whole city of Scottsdale is a little bit uptown.
Yeah, North's like my zip code's average income is silly. But anyways, so the reason I point that out is I'm pulling up and I see this dude on the back of his decked out range putting his bike like yours on there. And I'm like, so I pull up, I stop. I'm like, fuck it, I gotta know. I'm like, hey, is that Flatland bike? He goes, yeah. I go, cool. I don't know shit about it, but my friend does. Like, and he kind of looks at me like, odd. And I'm like,
oh, that's funny.
Anyways, I was like, is that what you do? He's like, no, I'm an attorney. I'm like, also odd.
Oh,
okay,
that's funny.
See you later.
That's funny.
It reminded me of you because I'm like, you're an attorney that's in your, mid-30s. strapping your, $2,000 bike to the back of your $80,000 truck to go somewhere to ride your bike. I was just like, I probably would have never noticed that with not to you, but I could see that it was like very similar to your bike. I'm like, that's probably a really expensive fucking bike.
That's funny because I was riding in a parking lot the other day. I found a new parking lot by the gym.
I saw that.
It's like primo, as long as it's not raining, but it's like primo. So, because it's industrial, so there's no traffic after 5 because everyone's closed.
Right. So it's just your parking lot.
Yeah, from 5 p.m. to sundown, and sun doesn't go down till like 9 o'clock here, so it's pretty good. So, anyways, I'm riding, and this police car drives by and like loops around and comes in, and it just so happened I actually pulled off a pretty cool trick right as they were pulling up. So then I like circled around and I just sat on my bike, and he rolled his window down. He goes, and he looks, and here's my brand new truck is sitting there.
Right.
Got the back end open, music blasting.
Right.
And I'm sitting on my bike, and he goes, "You just hanging out?" And I go, "Yeah, I'm just riding." And he kind of like, you could tell he had to do the math. He's like, this guy's like 40.
He's also a very large man.
Got a brand new truck, and he's got a little bike. It was like I could just see that he was just like, I'm just going to leave. He goes, okay, and just drove away. But it was just funny that watching him do the math in his head.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's probably similar to what I think it was just funny because you ever notice, like, for example, when you bought your truck, you start seeing Explorers everywhere.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, so I know what you mean.
So that's what happens with the bike. Like, I would have driven that bike 100 times, but I know I have to stop. I have to ask questions. Right. I don't have any idea what I'm asking, but I had to. Even funny. As I stopped, I was like, why am I stopping? Oh, fuck it. Here we go. this poor guy's looking like, at you. He's like, that fucking meathead from the third floor is a real moron. He asked me about my bike, and he didn't know shit about it.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Thanks for watching another podcast here at Think Big Bodybuilding Media, and thank you to our great sponsor, TrueNutrition.com, for making this all possible. TrueNutrition.com is owned by Dante Trudell, the creator of DC Training. He wanted to create a supplement company that offered high-quality, third-party tested supplements at a fair price. High-quality protein powders, just about every type you could think of, huge variety of flavors, plus health and performance supplements. Check them out, TrueNutrition.com. And hey, if you use our code ADVICES, you directly support our podcasting. Thanks, guys. Let's get back to the program.
Good. Here's a easy one. Do you think it's... Sorry, when people write poorly, I have a hard time. Do you think it's able to lose muscle for not training for a week, or is it just mind fuckery? Is it possible to lose muscle? That must be what it means.
Right. So a week off the gym, or a forced week off, or has to go to work overtime for a whole week and can't train or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if that goes in the category of like, if there's nothing you can do about it, you just stick to your diet and you'll just get back in the gym in a week and you'll be fine. And you can't worry about muscle loss or anything. It's, I remember I read something about 10 days being the actual length of time it takes to begin detraining.
Really?
I remember there was like an interesting thing that I read once. It was like science article, and it was like, muscle fullness is one thing, right? But to actually start detraining,
right,
really starts at 10 days. It might start earlier for some people, et cetera. But when you start actually detraining, that's about 10 days. So I wouldn't worry.
Right.
I
think the big thing that you nailed also is if you can't control it, I wouldn't worry anyways. I tell my clients all the time when something's weird, I go, we file that under life happens, and we just keep moving.
Yeah, so I tell all the clients I have that have kids.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
little Tommy fell down the stairs. Fuck.
Yeah. You just have to deal with shit,
Yep.
I know what it is. Yeah. Okay. Here's a good one. Have you triumphed over any insecurities in the past that you can think of?
I don't know if I would call it. So I will stop trying to figure out the word. Something that bothered me was when my hair fell out, which was starting to fall out, which was, for the record, was going to happen anyways. My mother's dad was bald.
Right.
It bothered me because it was when I shaved it right away. Like, I was one of those people who was like, I didn't fight it. I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm going bald. Okay, shave it. but I would wear a hat all the time because what I didn't like is if my hair started to grow at all, there was a very blatant spot.
Because you got dark hair.
Yeah, and it's like, boom, back of my head that I hated. So I mean, literally, even if I went to a nice restaurant, I wore a nice hat. Like,
right.
It was something that bothered me, and no one else gives a fuck. You know what I mean? But it just bugged me. But then I had my head tattooed, and now it doesn't bother me at all. I had that micropigmentation, which just means tattoo.
Yeah.
Right. And now it doesn't bother me. You know, but what's funny is I still always primarily wear hats anyhow. But that is the only thing in my entire life that I could absolutely say bugged me. Like, actually was something I was self-conscious about, which is I love because I always think about that when somebody tells me something that they're self-conscious about, and I laugh. I'm like, no one cares. So
right.
I know the same in reverse, but yeah, and I wouldn't really say I triumphed over it. I just fixed it the best way I could, you know. And I have people ask all the time that know that, like, oh, will you eventually get like hair implants or something like that? I'm like, well, no, I'm not going that far. I care, but not that much.
Right. I know what you mean. Huh, that's a good one. You know, I think a lot of guys have that one. You know, a lot of guys have the hair thing at some point.
Yeah, I'm just glad that Bruce Willis made it cool to be bald.
Yeah, it's funny. I never, like, I always had thick hair, and I kept my hair right up. Like, I never had to shave my head until I was like 39 or 40.
Right.
But even then, it wasn't like I had to. I still could have like had spiky hair or whatever.
Yeah, it was just thin. Yeah.
It was just thin and back, you know. But it never really bothered me. Like, I never really gave a fuck.
Right.
I just thought, oh, day's gonna come, because I remember shaving my head when I was like 21.
Right.
And I remember people saying to me, this is probably what helped. I remember people saying, oh, you look good bald. If you ever have to shave your head,
right,
you know that you look good bald. So I guess I never had the worry, you know.
Right.
I'd see those anti-steroid posters hanging up in like the rec centers and stuff.
Your hair will fall out.
Your hair will fall out. And I'm like, eh.
I had somebody ask me that though one time too. They were like, if you knew your hair was going to fall out, would you do this? I'm like, yes. Yeah, like I didn't say it like it ruined my fucking life. I just said, oh, that's
out anyways.
Yeah, and mine just sped up. Really, that's the one thing I think is also a benefit. I'm like, no, it was going either way. I just did it faster. Plus, I've been 29 for a decade now, so you know, whatever. It was going to happen. It just happened at a younger age for me.
Yes. I would say, I mean, I've had a lot of little ones, like, you know, the bodybuilding industry is pretty good at like generating insecurities in people, because, you know, it's like such a high expectation for everything, because it's so staged and prepared, especially the magazine era, you know?
Right. Yeah.
I remember always being really self-conscious of how white I was. Like, I remember from like the get-go, like, I remember people be like, wow, you're really pale. And like, people use the word pale and it makes you sound like ill. Like, if you say, oh, you're really white.
Right.
Like, if someone says, oh, you're really white, I'm like, yeah, I'm white. Super white. British, Irish, Scottish. We're really fucking white.
Right.
But if they go, oh, you're really pale, I'm like, pale, motherfucker. I don't have any iron deficiencies. I'm not pale. I get plenty of daytime. Like, you know,
I love that you get specific about the word. What it means is the same, but the word pale is, I am not sick.
Right.
I'm not seeing a doctor later today.
It's like a word you would use, you know, it's like a word you would use to describe, like, oh, you know, he was homeless. He was very pale. You know, like.
No, I get it. It's like, it's funny, but Tommy, my training partner, is leaning down for a show, and one of my clients is in town, and she was in town in his off season. And she goes, man, you're looking skinny. And I'm like, ooh. I took a deep breath, and I looked at him, and he cried, and it was a rough time.
The tears came, yes. The tears. Oh, that tears.
I looked at her and I go, you can't say skinny.
Yeah.
That's not a word we use, especially at 230 pounds.
Yeah, I know. I've always been white. Like, people would always hold their arms up. Like, you know, you hold your arm next to someone, they'd be like, holy fuck, you're really white. Like, there's people always doing that. And also too, like, my forearms get plenty of sun. So
Right.
they're actually tan compared to the rest of me.
Yeah, and they think that's white. You're like, actually.
I remember I would wear shorts once in a while when I was a kid, and people would be like, wow, your legs are so white. And I remember it just like bothered me. I'm like, fuck, why can't I tan like normal kids? And I could never tan. Like I would just turn red and then peel.
And then white again.
Right.
And then pale again.
And then, you know, when I remember in 2013 when I had some skin cancers removed off my back. I don't know if I told you that story.
I did. Yeah.
So when I had those removed, and she's like, okay, well, you can never tan again. I remember just being like, oh, what the fuck? I never could tan before anyways. Like,
yeah, it didn't work for me.
Yeah, now I'm just super white. And then every once in a while, like Mutant called me, you know, like a couple weeks ago, and they're like, hey, we need some shots. You know those pics you saw that you liked? Yeah. So I went and got like a quick Mystic tan, you know, where you just stand in the booth like you're running.
Yes.
You know?
I love that thing.
And I almost need to get 2 canisters because after 1 canister, I feel like I miss spots. But I went and did that, and everyone at the gym was like, holy, you look fucking awesome with some color.
Which is code for you usually look like shit, dude.
It is code for you're super white and don't look very good most of the time.
You're pale most of the time.
Yeah. So I just got a laugh
that says that.
Like, whatever. You know what I mean?
Great. Definitely great. Ooh.
Okay. We haven't talked about one single important thing yet.
Is there anything important in the world?
Okay.
I'm trying to avoid all the things that are right out there on the table that just burn my soul currently.
Right.
You know, so it's plus, you know, what's funny is some of the things I would like to cover, everyone's already talking about them. So it's like, fuck, I don't need my opinion out there.
You know, Dusty, let's talk about that for a second. It's difficult to do the show. Like, I mean, the show comes, the actual recording of the show comes naturally for us because we're just having a chat.
Right.
But, you know, there's times when I'm driving and I'm like, you know, should we be talking about training more? Should we be giving them more quality information?
Right.
You know, like, you know, you start to wonder, like, because, you know, half the time I can't believe anyone even fucking listens. That's the point. That's the problem, right?
Right. Still shocked.
So yeah, it's just funny, you know, you get, and I listen to the odd episode of other shows, like I'll check in on stuff. But I think that's something that everyone who does a show wrestles with. Because I've actually heard Fuad talk about like topics, like how do they even get on these fucking topics? It's funny.
Yeah. I call them rants half the time because stuff that we really get rolling on. I'm like, how did we even get here?
Yeah.
You know, it'd be like waking up in Iowa one day and you're like, what the fuck? that is our show. We wake up in Iowa all the time. You know what it is though too, is I think I have realized that I get a lot of people that say get a ton out of the show, like a good information. And I'm like, oh, really? Because I don't always know when it happens, because I think it's because from jump, we had decided we weren't going to overly think.
Right.
And just let them take it where it goes, you know? Because I think outside looking in, like when we're having our conversation, I'm more interested in the random pieces or your view on something I already know.
Right.
You know, like even for you, like I already know your opinion on a lot of stuff, but when you explain your view and sometime you'll catch something and go, oh, that actually might even alter mine a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So I think people like that. You know, it's off the cuff a little bit better that way. Oh, here we go.
God.
This is a good one. I got a good one. How did Jay Cutler get as big as he did without training to failure? And they put in parentheses, as he claims.
Well, I think that's just semantics and misunderstanding of each other's language. So Jay trained to failure plenty. Like, you know, so you'd watch him do those sets of T-bar rows, and, you know, the first 6 reps would be explosive, and then maybe the last 2 were kind of sloppy.
Mm-hmm.
That's training to failure.
Right.
Because form degradation equals failure. So you allow a certain amount of form to go out the window to complete 1 or 2 extra reps. You know, it's just like doing cheat curls. So, you know, there's all sorts of one-arm dumbbell rows. I mean, you could pull the first 8 are perfect, and then the last 2 have some heave in them. That's still training to failure. Just because the dumbbell didn't stop moving. doesn't mean you're not taking the muscle to mechanical failure. And, and Jay had that style of training. You see him doing the press downs and he's banging them out. And then the last few are like fucking, So I would argue that I think Jay is just sort of interpreting, like if let's say that's an actual question that was posed of him and he responded no, I think he's just thinking like Dorian style training, like with the forced reps and all that stuff.
Yeah, or the bar literally, he's doing
the bar literally stops moving.
Yeah, training bar has to pull it off of him. Yeah, I hear you. Plus, you got to factor in too is Jay's volume. Like muscular failure in my brain is also an overall thing. Like you could train a set to failure, but not the muscle to failure. You see what I'm saying? Like if I walked out after one set of failure, the muscle's not really done. It was just done in that moment of time, Right. Jay, I think, took his muscles further than I did or do because his volume was obscene and he still trained heavy. I love when people go, Jay didn't train heavy. I'm like, I've seen Jay incline 405. Like, what are you talking about? Right in front of my eyes. Like,
yeah, Jay would squat 5 plates all the time when he was younger.
Yeah. I think that it gets forgotten also that by the time you're watching most of these guys that are really, really good, they're already there.
Yeah.
And now they're refining, you know what I mean? And I think that's one thing that gets a little bit detracted is you follow someone like me and it's like, this is the only thing this is what keeps me functioning. You know what I mean? I have to train this way. Whereas, a Phil Heath doesn't. I hate the comparisons to the greats because people really don't understand they're not like us.
Okay.
All of us, you know what I mean? And some of them are. I mean, like I find Shalon Clarita is a great example. Like he has to murder it every single day to be as big as he is, both at the table and in the gym. You know what I mean? Like he is genetically awesome, but he's got the fighting thing against him that his body wants to be small. So he has to overcome that. But when he does overcome it, the end result is much better than me overcoming it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
right.
I know what you mean. Factors.
I know what you mean. Okay. I got a TV show one.
Oh boy. Yes.
So, this could be any girlfriend in history, but it's posed at me. So it says, what has your girl made you watch that you ended up really liking?
So overall, made you watch. Well, I have a few, obviously, girlfriends and shows. Evian got me into Dexter, which was top 5 all-time shows for me, for sure. Can't wait for that one to come back. And then more recently, I watch home shows, like when they build houses and shit.
Right.
But I recently started picking up this one where people win the lottery and then they go buy a house. And it depends on how much money they won, what the house looks like, where they take them to like 3 different houses, show them the plus and minuses. That is where my world is now, is I watch freaking real estate shit.
Really?
It makes me like, you know what it is? I was explaining this the other day. I haven't kicked off still with, what is it? Yellowstone.
Right.
And you know why? I can't commit to something where I'm going to be back to it within the next couple of weeks, even right now. So literally the thought of getting something going where I'm like, oh, fuck, what was happening again? Doesn't work. Anything I watch has to be start and end today.
Right.
If I happen to watch, you know what I mean? Like, to give you an idea, last night I watched television. There were four games last night, hockey games. No, 5 games. 5 games yesterday. And I watched each of their highlights because I get the NHL on demand.
Right.
That's all the television I watched yesterday.
Right.
Like after that, I was like, good. It's 2 a.m. I need to go to bed now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't have TV. So, we usually watch one episode of something every night. That's kind of our chill out, turn the phones off, watch an episode, eat a meal, and then we got the rest of the night, chill out.
What is your show that you've been that Emily put you on?
Well, Emily's the one that wanted to watch American Horror Story initially.
Right.
So that was her pick, like way back. And so, I mean, now they're on like season 10 or whatever, right? So we've seen all of those. And then she also picked more recently, like we watched that show Ratchet.
Oh, right. You talked about that once
on Netflix. Yeah. She picked that. That was cool because it was like twisted and fucked up.
Right.
You know. And then she, how our trend is we'll be watching like a big series.
Right.
And we'll run out of episodes. So then you're waiting, right? Right. So, you're done Ozark, we finished Homeland and they're done Homeland. So there's no more coming. And we finished this, we finished that. And so you're in that limbo period plus with COVID.
Yeah.
So
everyone's got a limbo period about a year coming up here.
There's like this big stretch where we've been like, there's no Ozark. There's no, we're just waiting for stuff. Right.
Right.
So we watched a bunch of stuff like, those little, there'll be like a Netflix show that only has, 2 seasons and then it's done.
Right.
So we watched a few of those and some of those are like actually pretty entertaining. So she picked a few of those that were good. And then I actually recently just because I always wanted to watch it because I heard it was really good. So we started watching Banshee. Have you ever seen Banshee?
No.
So it's on HBO and we have HBO. So started watching it. It's 4 seasons and then they wrap it up, I believe. I don't think there's a season 5.
Right.
But it's basically about a guy who gets out of jail and to try to evade these people that are trying to kill him, he steals the identity of a small town sheriff who just happens to get killed.
Right.
So he becomes a small town sheriff, and that's kind of the basis of the show. But he's an ex-con and all that stuff.
Right.
So, anyways, turns out it's wildly entertaining because it's really trashy. There's lots of sex. There's like 4 right now. There's currently like 4 or 5 pretty attractive women in it that kind of take turns being naked.
That's a lovely show.
There's like the one cop. There's this like younger Amish girl. There's this,
Amish girl. I mean, how did they pull that one out?
Because they're in the small town, Pennsylvania.
Right.
Right. So there's this Amish colony, right? So there's these other people involved. It's, it's kind of like Yellowstone, right?
Right.
and so there's all these characters and they all and he manages to bang all of them. And then there's gratuitous violence. Like, when someone comes to try to kill him, it's not like bang, bang. It's like, broken femur sticking out of the leg,
nice.
Throat ripped out of the neck, blood everywhere. Like it's fucking bloody and messy. It's trashy. Like there was one point, like, I don't know, it was like season 2. Emily looked at me after an episode. She's like, this show's almost too violent for me.
We're right on the edge.
She's like, we're right on the edge. This show's almost too violent for me. Like that was a little rough. Crazy gunfights. Like it's out of hand. It's even worse than Sons for being like kind of unrealistically violent.
That makes me want to watch it.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
I like any, what it is? I like any show though where the writer commits to an end, or writers to the end before it's happening.
Right.
Because for example, like Sons, it didn't need to end. And in fact, the way they made it end was kind of like they just fucking cut the script in half and just said, we're done now. Because,
right.
You know what I mean?
But that's how life ends.
But I like the fact that they did that because other shows, like I really feel that Suits got drug on one too many years and the last season sucked.
Right.
Which might have had to do with Megan being a bitch and leaving, but whatever. It's not personal. It's not personal, but she ruined my show.
There you go.
Let's see here. I'm trying to get these are all so many of these are directed right at me. Well, that's obvious. Oh, now we're getting into the deep stuff. All right, Ron. You got to replace your penis and your balls with a fruit/vegetable. What do you choose?
Well, I think I would go with a banana for the penis. I mean, you want some curve. You don't go cucumber with zero curve, do you? Did you want a lightsaber?
Yeah, but they have those one cucumbers that have like little.
Yeah, I guess.
The long. What are the English ones? Or straight?
Because you can get like some plenty big bananas. Like it's not like there's a size issue with a banana. You can pick out a pretty decent banana that's going to be more than you'll ever need. Because remember.
Yes, you got to do it. You got to do it.
Don't want to be too big for anal, right? You could outwish yourself into trouble if you go too big on that. So and then there's only a certain type of girl you can hang out with, and that's going to cause problems. So I would, I don't know, good old banana. Can't go wrong with that. I think that's pretty decent. And right. What do you pick for testicles? Because you don't want them huge, because then we got leg press issues. And
I'd go with peas. That way, the same size as what I actually have.
Just go with peas. I was gonna say like a good sized grape or a small plum.
See, I was like, well, drug problems, pea. That's what I'm used to. We're good to go. It's all about space issues, Ron. I want space.
Right. You know? I guess
I feel bad for a normal man. I'm like, what the hell does he do with that shit down there?
I guess the issue with the banana is that it's not actually that hard. Is that a problem? Do you need to go with something like more like an eggplant?
But the eggplant, like the one end is so.
Yeah.
How's that going to work? You know, it's tricky. It's funny that you said that about the size. Do you follow? God, what's his? I gotta look up his last name before I ruin this, because it's important.
Make sure, because when you said Tyler Manning, you didn't say Tyler Mannion.
Mannion, you're right. Sean Wallen. Do you follow him?
Sean Wallen.
Yeah. Anyway. No. Okay, we should. But somebody asked him a question about like a 12-inch dick, and he literally just went on a rampage. He was like, no woman wants a 12-inch dick as her daily driver, so don't even wish that on yourself.
As a daily driver.
And I died, and I had a couple women send that to me laughing. They go, damn right. So your banana is very accurate. You don't want to go too far with this, but I think a banana, because you get the outside too, is plenty. Do you want me to grab one, or do you want the visual? You good? Okay, you're good.
I don't know how far we need to take this, Dustin.
Do we need to? Do you see? But this one has a little curve. Never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna side with you on the banana, and like I said, I'm sticking to peas. So I just don't want more than I'm used to. Seems ridiculous.
I'm not trying to lie here.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want anybody getting confused with what's going on here.
Okay.
Boom. Oh, this is a good one, and I like that you would answer this one. So I'm jumping ahead. You only have $10,000 to invest. What are you investing in, and why?
Right now, this second?
Yeah.
And I can just pull it out whenever I want. So you're just saying, like, right now, today.
This person has $10,000 to invest. Yep.
Well, I mean, 10,000 is not enough to buy property or anything.
Not enough for a down payment.
And even, and so there's not much you can do with 10 grand if that's just your like be all end all. But I can tell you that Bitcoin's cheap right now and Ethereum's cheap right now. Everything just crashed. So, I mean, I lost some money last week, but it doesn't even phase because it's not real money. And I know it's going to go back up.
Either. Yeah.
Yeah. Because like everyone's crypto plummeted last week. So it's actually a good time to buy.
Yep.
And it's going to go up again, and it's going to go to a new high.
Yep.
So if I had 10,000, I'd just buy 10,000 of Ethereum or Bitcoin, one of the 2 or 3 most stable ones, and I'd just wait for it to go back up to like whatever a new high is, and then I'd sell it.
Yep.
Because it's going to go to a new high again.
Yeah, actually, there's one now that I bought a ton of called Cardano.
Oh yeah.
That I would probably put a big chunk in that because it's so cheap right now.
Yeah.
And they're looking at that one blowing up significantly in the next 5 years. And I consider 5 years to be a short-term investment.
Yes.
It's funny because like you said, when it tanked because of Biden being a moron and what he's thinking about doing, my first thought was, okay, good, I'm going to buy some more. Just going to wait. Right. Until it dips a little bit more. And then, because what was funny is I had bought another $3,000 of it that day. And then I went to the gym, and I came out of the gym, and that happened. I was like, you dick. Oh, well.
Right.
So yeah, I would do the same. The other answer I was going to say is for 10,000. The other option that might be a faster turn for me would be I'd invest in myself. So I would buy another website. I would, you know what I mean? Something that I'm big on betting on me.
Right.
Because even, the coins and all that, it's not in our control. Whereas if I invest 10 grand into one of my online businesses, that's a ton. And I can really make some cash of it. Like I just popped up on a website last week, because we had an idea. And it's like, $1,500 later, that'll make me a fortune. So 10,000 and those types of things is a lot. It's funny. I got a couple questions like this because I put up a post about your goals and having a specific goal in mind. And one guy asked me, he asked me on there, which I hadn't answered yet, and then he asked me in the questions again, other sources of income. It's hard for me to answer because I wanted to, in my brain, I'm like, if you can't think of one other way to make money, you're fucked. Because I can think of a million sitting here.
Right.
With the internet, I really feel like it's limitless what you can come up with. I tell people, what are you into? What are you passionate about that's fun? Not I'm not saying making a career, but you want a side income.
Right.
Oh, you like Pokemon? Cool. There's probably a way to make money on that.
Yep. Yeah, there would be.
It's because I think some people forget when they're in a dead end job and they're not, I shouldn't say dead end, but they're check to check. If you're making 50 grand, if you brought in another 10, that's a ton. You know what I mean? Everything is based on how much you make. I read an article a long time ago about the amount of money it takes to change your life in each phase of life. So when you're making 30 grand, if you can make 35, that's life changing. Mm-hmm. But if you have $2 million, there's nothing you can do with 5 million you can't do with 2, other than pay cash for things. But other than that, it really doesn't change your life. The jumps have to become enormous,
There's been several studies now, and they keep reinforcing each other on the happiness threshold. Have you seen that one for income?
I haven't.
So they say once you make, and this is, I think, based on North American standards, with our money.
Right.
Once you make $65,000 a year in most of our area, your happiness doesn't go up anymore, because your happiness is affected largely by security, having shelter, food, water, having all the important things taken care of, and knowing that you're not going to be homeless or starving.
Right.
And once you know that you're secure, money doesn't really buy happiness after that point.
Right.
So that was very interesting. Yeah. So it's once you're out of the risk, sort of area of life, and you're making about 65,000 a year. Obviously there's certain places where 65,000 goes farther than others.
I was gonna say, you'd be fucked if you lived here, but yes.
Well, yeah, but I guess for most people, that's still where the happiness threshold goes. The stress goes down enough that the happiness doesn't really go any higher after that.
Well, don't you think though a lot of that too? I think a lot of that comes from the fact that most people, when they start making more, start spending more.
Yeah, that's a number one thing.
So it really becomes an issue because they don't have any more money at 150 that they do at 65 because they bought all this dumb shit.
Yeah, because I always really liked the saying, it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep.
Right.
And I always, because some people just spend their money on crazy shit, and I honestly think that Gary Vee, I remember when he was talking about how he didn't buy a new car until he was already a millionaire.
Right.
Right. And I remember just thinking about just car payments alone. So just the fact that I never bought a car on car payments, I only paid cash for decent vehicles and then drove them into the ground. I did that for most of my life.
Right.
Just the money I saved on that I was able to put into other stuff was huge.
Yeah. The things that we're not depreciating a car.
Not depreciating assets. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even like to use the word assets after depreciating. I'm like, ugh. But no, yeah, I do find that interesting because it's something that comes up a ton just because I've been really fascinated on the flip of when I read things about lack of money that people have. And I'm not talking about being fancy. I'm talking about like if shit happens, they don't have $1,000.
Yeah.
But most people that are in that scenario do go shopping for Black Friday and do have $200 pair of shoes on. And I'm like, wow. Like it's just odd to me because what makes me happy is that I'm not worried at all. Like my lifestyle is so below where I'm at that, if money stopped coming in for a year, I'd be fine.
Right. And I also have my food bill still isn't, I still don't spend much on food relative to how much I eat.
Right.
I still buy no name brand oatmeal. I still I don't give a shit. I buy good stuff. Like Emily buys the expensive tuna because we've been through tuna before.
Yeah. You're in the bags, aren't you? Are you in the bags? You fancy
I buy
bastard.
I buy good meat and everything like that. But certain things I don't like. You know what I mean?
Well, there's a difference in things that matter, like we've talked about before. AJ's that I buy all my meat from, they do a half price sale every year, well, twice a year. When they do that, game on.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. I think I spent $1,000 this week, but I eat it all the time. It's not an option. So it literally in my brain, I'm like, no, I spent $1,000 instead of $2,000.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't eat more because I have it. So all good. So, all right. What do you got?
I got one. Okay. So you didn't see any Joe Rogan the past week?
No, other than the fights.
So he had a guest on, I can't fucking remember her name now, but she brought up a topic and she went off on estrogens and plastic, and how the plastics and the petroleums in our environment and in our food and in our ecosystem have been affecting the development of males,
right?
Because of the xenoestrogens and all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I suggest everyone go listen to that clip. She talks about, and I don't want to get this shit wrong, so I won't get too detailed, but how over the last 40 years, testosterone levels are dropping. Average male testosterone is dropping. Average male sperm count is dropping. There's even evidence where she talks about how they measure, I think it's I can't remember whether it was the babies or the fetuses on ultrasounds, but they measure penises and stuff like that, and the average, it's actually shrinking, the average. So we're talking, might be tiny amounts, but the data shows it's actually trending downward. And she talks about estrogens in our food and, microwaving food in plastic and all that sort of stuff. So I'm asking, do you consider plastics in your daily, do you use glass containers in the microwave? Is it for that reason? Does that stuff cross your mind?
It doesn't. Now, of course, I have the plastics that won't kill you from cancer and shit like that, allegedly.
Right, the BPA free.
But I don't think that affects what you're talking about. I don't think about that, but coincidentally, because I'm always home, I don't use plastic much anymore. Aside from, something like that. But it's interesting. I feel like in some ways, things are just naturally in my life going in that direction. Now I drink out of those ice shakers all the time because that's what we have that Condemn made, So it's a lot of it's happened on accident. But yeah, I don't consider it. But on the flip, I am obsessive about blood work and estradiol and all that. So
right.
I think by default, but I don't think of it maybe as I should in that way,
She really was sounding an alarm. She was like, this is a downward trend, and it's very clear. The data is very clear. So if we allow it to continue infinitely, men will become sterile, and that would end the human species. And we have to get our fucking heads together and make sure this doesn't happen. And it was fucking nuts because there's a movie called Children of Men, which I think I've mentioned before. It has Clive Owen in it. Great movie. It's 2007, I think. But in that movie, the women have become infertile due to environmental pollution.
Right.
So there's no more kids being born. So like the society's just like coming apart at the seams, right? Because it's the fucking end of humanity.
Yeah.
So it's a really crazy concept, but here we are. She's saying, hey, this is coming. Like,
right.
We have to stop this poisoning of ourselves because it's fucking up our hormones and it's gonna cause dire consequences. So yeah, it was very interesting. But I've been into the kind of the glass Tupperware.
You used to use glass Tupperware. I remember that. Yeah,
I always do. Yeah, and I've been into that for a long time, and that was actually something like I remember growing up as a kid. My mom would always be like, "Don't microwave in that. Microwave in a glass bowl and put it in a plastic container." Like she would say that to us all the time.
Right.
So I just grew up around being sort of aware of microwaving with plastic and obviously as a bodybuilder, I sort of got like reckless and didn't give a fuck for like a while,
right.
Because in the 90s we weren't doing that. But I remember when Ben Pekulski started to kind of make it fashionable to talk about plastics and he was using the glass Tupperware. I remember thinking, oh, I'm already doing that. And then I remember reading about Evan Centopani talking about it.
Oh yeah, Evan's
he was
huge
big
on it.
And Evan was big on the stainless steel shaker and stuff like that.
Yep. Yeah.
And at the time I had switched over to stainless steel. So I was like, oh, I'm already doing all that. Like, so I've been through that. I definitely think it's something that we should consider.
Right.
So yeah.
There's your free plug ice shaker. They're coming out with a 36-ounce bottle in May, so I'm pretty stoked about that.
We just did a shaker for West Coast. It's awesome.
Did you? They made me one for me. It's funny. They reached out and said, want to make you a shaker. So I was like, oh, that'd be awesome. But I want to buy some also, and they're like, okay. And I said, do I want to get the big one? They're like, well, it doesn't come till May. So I thought I was pretty amazed that the guy was like, all right, well, I'm going to make you one for now anyways. And literally I sent him my logo, and the next morning I got a thing from USPS. It's on the way. I was like, I'm sorry, I sent you the logo like last night. What the hell happened? They're awesome, man. They're really good.
It was funny. I heard that Rogan episode, and then the very next day, one of the guys from Mutant dropped by the gym and gave me. They did a stainless steel shaker.
Yeah, I saw that.
And he dropped it off. I was like, oh, this is hilarious because I just got mine like the day I heard the interview. So
and you said you're making them for West Coast now too?
Well, no, we just got a big jug done.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, we like it. It's cool. So
nice.
Okay, you got another one?
I have a jillion other ones actually.
Let's do a training one. We got to do some training.
Okay.
Because
it's funny because I have less and less training, but here I have some that'll be really good. This dude just asked me if I was natural. I love when they do that. Like they think they're being cute. Natty?
Of course.
Yes, I haven't taken anything since 2 days ago, asshole. It's just a dumb fucking question. 1 second. I want to get to it because I saw some people had asked about push-pull legs.
Yeah, I've got a couple people that I just started on a push-pull legs.
Well, fuck. Ask one if you've got one because I need to find this specific one because it was good.
Okay. Okay. I got a bunch. What's your favorite chest press machine in the world right now?
Prime incline. Their incline chest press is my favorite.
Okay, that's cool. Good pick.
I love that one.
Yeah.
I love Prime in general. Like,
where do you put the plates on it? How do you load it?
So it's funny, but I always start with one on each,
right?
As I'm getting going. But my weakness right now is at the end of the range, so I'm actually purposely weighing that more.
Oh, okay.
Because I've trained so long. It's actually the woman that's helping me with my stretching, Megan. I have like no strength in the beginning and in the end of movements.
Right,
like none. Because I don't train in those ranges. So I can literally struggle, like just in a fixed position, squeezing my hamstring to where my heel would touch my glute. I can't do that with no weight.
Yeah.
You know, which I think every single person that's listening, that's got size, can't do it either. But if you get stronger in those areas, you'll be stronger across the board. So now I'm purposely trying to load areas that I'm weak, which is kind of fun.
Right.
Yeah, I love that piece. What about you?
Yeah, that's cool. Well, we have the Atlantis, the seated, where you're like not laying on your back, you're seated.
Yes.
We have the Atlantis flat press. So some people think it's a bit of an incline, but it's a flat press. It's just that it sweeps up on you a little.
The way a bench is supposed to.
Yeah. Anyways, I love that piece. They just
does that one come together or no?
it's converging. It does.
Okay. Yes. Cool.
But it's not drastic.
Okay.
So it's more like you're handling dumbbells. Like it's not a fake. Like it's not like your hands come like right together. Like.
Have you ever used the flat one? That's at Gold's Venice. That's plate loaded. I don't even know what brand it is, but it comes all the way together.
It's a Cybex fly press.
That thing will embarrass you.
Yeah, it's a really tough movement.
It's
like people put a plate
in it too.
Yeah.
It's tricky. That's why I asked if it like converge. Good word. I didn't know that even existed. Yeah. Because like if it's too much, I find I'm focusing too much on the machine, trying to go all over the place.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Versus like a press, because it's funny. I push on with my people all the time. I don't like to do a lot of things where I have to worry. I just want you to push the weight. That's why I like Smith machines. That's why I like machines. Like I think it's the best way to grow. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
You wouldn't have that before. Is that newer? I've never used that at your gym.
Yeah, you've never seen it. We got it since you were here last time. We got that. But it's great. And one of the things they did is so you know how a lot of hammer stuff gets heavier as you push out?
Yep.
So it's the opposite of that. It's heaviest in the stretch. So it's super loaded in the stretch. So as it comes down, it fucking loads on you, you know, and then as you come up, it deloads slightly.
Which is actually good because it's heaviest where you're strongest.
Yeah, so that's the natural strength curve. And then what they did is they put band pegs on it. So if you wanted to flip the strength curve, you just throw bands on it.
Well, that's awesome. So
it's a dual purpose. You know, you could do both. So yeah, that's a great piece. You got one, buddy?
That's yeah, I've got a few here. Jesus, there's so many.
I had this one. Is how much of a mind fuck is it while downsizing?
I had a guy that just said the same thing, but he was asking. He wants to do what you guys are doing. So explain that a little bit, because I don't think it would be at all. But go ahead.
So I mean, obviously, when I first, started downsizing, there was a little bit like, fuck, I wonder how, the odd dad put a shirt on.
Right.
And it was like, fuck, it's not tight in the sleeves anymore. Like, this shirt used to be tight in the sleeves. And so then like maybe that shirt doesn't get worn anymore. You know what I mean? Like I just switched my clothes a little bit. And then there's a couple of hoodies I had that were 4X hoodies.
Right.
And the day came where I was like, oh, this hoodie's too big for me now, which kind of sucks. Cause one of my favorite hoodies was my giant black and red Metroflex one that he gave us when we were there.
Yeah.
I love that fucking hoodie. It's like super warm in the winter. It's just such a sharp hoodie. And it's too big for me now. It's a 4X. It's fucking tent on me. I'm like, fuck.
This one's gone.
Yeah, like you got to be 300 pounds to wear that fucking hoodie. Like it's big. So that was a little sad. And I had to take that off the rotation rack and put it in the drawer. Little tear. So yeah, there's been some wardrobe changes and some clothing where I was like, oh, that shirt's got to go. Fuck, I like that shirt. Have
you found, and I mean, this is a legit question for me, that because the goal isn't to be bigger anymore, it's intentional, that it's kind of like all the benefits you're having, you kind of forget.
Well, that's helping now. Like,
because also, you're so lean right now, like, I could say on the flip, you know how it is when you're heavy, like as I'm progressing into pushing into heavier, like I know I don't look great.
Right.
In fact, you look smaller when you're heavier. You don't want to take your shirt off because although it's great for anyone else as a bodybuilder, like I'm fat as fuck. Like you literally, it's like if somebody's like, "Oh, Ron, what do you look like right now?" You're like, peeled out of my fucking mind.
247, always ripped.
You know?
No, I mean, you definitely have to like appreciate the other stuff, you know?
Right.
And then of course, like riding the bike has really helped because now I actually have like a benefit of being lighter that's obviously presenting itself to me, you know, and I'm, you know, that's, you know, adds enjoyment to, you know, quality of life and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a little bit of a head fuck, you know. There was a lot of stuff in the gym that didn't bother me. And then there was a handful of things that did. And that was interesting to me. So like, I didn't give a fuck that I started using less on the preacher curl.
Right.
I didn't give a fuck that I used a little bit less on the leg curl. And I moved the pin down on this. I didn't give a fuck. But when I dropped down below the 120-pound dumbbells on incline, and there's like days when I use the 110s now.
Right.
I'm like, fuck, those aren't the 120s.
Right.
And then I had a long think the other day. I'm like, why is it 120? Why do 120-pound dumbbells on the incline mean something to me?
Right.
Why isn't 130 or 140?
Right.
And it's because the gym I started at, the dumbbells went to 120. And I remember
using them was the thing.
Yeah. And if you could incline the 120s, you were like a monster in that gym. Right. And I remember I was pounding the 120s by the time I was like 19, 20 years old.
Right.
And I was like, so that just kind of like, I think that's why that number's woven in there.
Right.
So there's days when we do like incline dumbbell second or third.
And you're like hundreds, 110s.
He's like the 110s or something, you know, and now Braden did the 130s the other day. So he's like big, he's like the big boy now. Right.
Right.
So yeah, it's just kind of funny. So there's certain exercises where I was like, oh man, the end of an era.
I can see that though, because, you know, people will ask me about like hockey, when was the last time you skated? I'm like, it's the last time I played for real. Mm-hmm. I mean, technically that's not true. I did one game. There was like a celebrity game for a cop here that got shot. And that was the game where I realized I was done because there was no checking or nothing. And I was fucked. I have no interest in doing things. Once you've done them at this level, I will not be deadlifting for high numbers in my brain when I'm done.
Right.
I'm on my deadlift, but it'll be like, how strong am I for 15?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like I have to get out of that game and into a different game because if not, it's kind of the same. I know a lot of people, they're like, oh, I love men's league. It's so much fun. I'm like, those guys suck. I don't want to play with shitty hockey players. Right. And so it's the same with bodybuilding. I think for me, I will have to change the direction pretty drastically. Right. Because, and it's funny, it has nothing to do with anyone else. I don't even pay attention in the gym to who's watching or what's happening anymore. Like, it doesn't matter to me. But the day that I'm, getting on a hack and squeaking out reps with 5 plates is going to fucking piss me off.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When warm-up weight, because it's funny, like you said, when you think about strength, like I do fly presses with 130s. Like, and you're right. There's going to be a day where I'm grabbing the hundreds, getting ready for a fucking working set. Like, here we go for presses.
Yeah.
Shooting for 6.
One of the things that helps me a little bit, I have to admit, it does help a little, is, like I get on the hack squat now with 5 plates and pound out my set. And I could go up in weight, but I always choose not to. I'm like, no, I'm going to do 5 plates. I'm going to make them a little slower. I'm going to stretch, make this set harder. Maybe I'll get 12 instead of 10. So, but then I always think in my head, I'm like, fuck, that's pretty awesome that I can still do this and also do this other stuff now.
Right. No, I hear you.
So yeah, so there's like that helps too. But yeah, downsizing is a head fuck, Yeah.
I think there's some parts of it though that you could definitely dig, like I love to point it out to guys because they're just, young guys are so obsessed that somehow it's going to help them with women. And I'm like, I've never dated a woman who was into the fact that I'm my size. They just accepted the fact that I'm my size. I
have, and I will say this, I've had more women casually tell me I look great. Like, you look great. Like, how you doing? I haven't seen you for a while. You look great. Like, I've had more women casually tell me I look great since I downsized than like ever when I was bodybuilding.
I have to tell you this. You'll laugh on that note. So I'm in Fiber Nutrition one day, and those are the stores that I used to own. And we're standing there, and he used to always play our videos in there. And so we're standing there, and I love Lance. He's mocking me and whatever, because he's like, you're on the TV, but you're in the store. He's giving me shit,
Inception.
And I'm like, I'm just rolling my eyes. And this lady's standing there, and she goes, I've never really been into like really big dudes. And I was like, oh, she goes, man, I'd like to try it sometime though. I mean, just to see what it is. And I kind of like looked around. So she leaves, and Lance goes, did she just casually ask you to sleep with her? I'm like, yeah, she did.
Just follow the parking lot.
Like, it was so, I was like, that was different.
Hey, so we're both customers at this guy's store. Hey, what do you figure about that?
But I laugh because it always bring up, because I think about that with guys. I'm like, that doesn't happen. Because even her answer, I'm not into big guys at all.
But I'd like to try it. What does try it? What do you mean by try it?
She's just having a bite of food.
Like, try it? Like,
I'll try an oyster. Let's see how this is.
See her like holding the dick.
It's a sample. I'm like, you're not done here. She goes, I tried it. It wasn't that great. Fuck.
Do you want to come in the back and try it? What do you say to that? So
it was literally, I was dying. I'm like, that just happened. Real life. Okay. All right. Found a training question. Basic, but cool.
Are we closing the show with a training question?
We're trying. Do you think shoulder presses are necessary for the delts, or is incline pressing for chest enough?
So my answer to this is no. And the reason my answer is no is because I think that I don't like absolutes.
Right.
So I don't like to say that you must do something.
Right.
Because I think there's always another way to figure something out. Muscles grow by overloading them. So no, I would say you don't need to shoulder press. Now, that doesn't mean that he doesn't need to shoulder press. I'm just saying that not everyone always needs to shoulder press to grow delts. There's probably someone out there who can get awesome delts without pressing. I've known lots of bodybuilders that have had too many injuries and they've stopped shoulder pressing, and they still have great delts.
Right.
I've known a lot of guys like that. So, but of course they already had them and they just kept them. So there's that. But, just like Dorian's thing about squatting, I mean, he squatted a lot, then he got hurt and he never squatted again. And then he won Olympias after that. So, I've had little phases where I stopped shoulder pressing just because I couldn't do them. Like I had injury issues and rotator issues and stuff, but I always returned to them because I felt like my shoulders were always bigger when I was able to press well. They are the main overload exercise, but you could also do a high incline press and that would load the front delts, like if you did like a little bit higher incline, that loads the shit out of the front delt. So I'm sure there's a way that you could find a workaround to not press. I mean, probably most people should press if they want big delts, but I'm sure there's a way to do it without.
Yeah, I think too, one thing I like to factor in is I think barbell pressing in general sucks. I do it, but when I'm talking about across the board, like I would much rather get on a machine that allows the bar to cut right through my head as it should and go straight up, which is, of course, an Arsenal shoulder press, a Prime shoulder press, even some of the machines, you know what I mean? These are all great options that I think are superior to a barbell shoulder press.
So my problem with looking back on all my years is that now anything I do with a straight barbell, whether it be curls, skull crushers, any kind of pressing, shoulder pressing, anything done with a straight bar hurts. My elbows, my shoulders, something fucking hurts.
Right.
And that tells me that those movement patterns aren't that natural to begin with.
No.
Right?
There's something you have to factor in too is if you've had an injury, which we all have, to one side of your body, then either during the injury or like in my case where it's a permanent thing, my left half of my body does not move the same as my right half. So if I'm stuck to a bar then my left elbow is actually moving completely different during a press than my right elbow.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Yeah.
You know, pretty simple. So, all right, I got one that we're going to finish the show with because I think it really matters and it kind of keeps us on point. What city/country has the hottest women on the planet?
Well,
I know I had to go big. I'm sorry, buddy.
Funny. So, well, I mean, I don't know the actual stats. So I'll tell you something funny. I have heard many famous people who were quoted as saying they had to go to Edmonton for some reason, like where I'm from, right, where I used to live. They like had to go there to shoot a movie, or they did something. They had to go to Edmonton for some reason, or even like hockey players would get traded to Edmonton or something like that. But there's a bunch of famous quotes of people saying they're like, "This is a cold northern city, and there is so many hot girls here." Like, I just remember that, and I remember being from there and going, "Oh, maybe it's not too bad to live here where it's minus 30 half the year." It was sort of something that maybe give you a little bit of like, I'll stick around this town.
This will work.
But no, just, I mean, I think there's beautiful women everywhere. I've never found it difficult to find the beauty in the surrounding environment, because I have appreciation for all sorts of ecosystems.
See, my answer was going to be a lot more simple, which was whatever city the current giant bodybuilding expo is at.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Maybe that's why every city I go to is equally hot.
It's really hard for us to just, like, I think about it, I'm like, well, the problem is
every
all the women come with us.
Has a whole bunch of fitness girls in every hotel. They're all the same.
Yeah. I've never been to a hotel that didn't have at least 40 rocking bodied women walking around and a bunch of meatheads. It seems like that's how everywhere in the world.
That is funny. That's very true. Very, very true. I will say that there was, so as far as, traveling where the expos are going, that's such a skewed view of the world, right?
Yeah.
So if I think about not going to expos and just traveling myself, I will say that when I went to Chile, I remember thinking just walking around the normal part of town and trying to find a gym and stuff. I remember being like, oh, like everyone here is like, all the girls here are hot,
all attractive, yeah,
like in shape, but then there you go. I know it's South America, but it's got that European thing to it. Everyone's walking everywhere. Nobody's overweight. Yep. It's like you go to order a meal and it's kind of small. It's just that different feel. It's just a different way to live. And so it was. I did notice that. I got to give Chile some props.
Girl, look at you guys over here. Yeah, I love that. I used to say when I was a kid that I thought Utah was up there for sure, but it was
high, like 3-to-1 women.
Yeah, but I was gonna say I thought it was mathematical because everyone has like 17 children, so the odds of popping out a hot chick were just high.
At least one in every family.
I remember I used to think that, and I'm like, well, but if you do the math, I mean, of course.
Right.
They're popping out kids, no problem. They're not eating out of plastic. That's for damn sure.
No. That's good. I like that. And it's a funny reminder of how skewed your vision of reality is when you travel with the expos.
Oh, I've found that in life in every single way that I have no idea. Like, remember the question about the 225 bench?
Yeah.
Like, what I think the world is so not normal.
Hey, that's part of the problem of being at my gym.
Right.
Like, I just like that gym's just home to me, right? It's just normal. And then there'll be like a new member will join up and I'll go up to them and go, hey, how's it going? I see you're a new member. And they'll be like, all the girls here are amazing. And all the guys here are like monsters. Like, this gym is nuts.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like, oh yeah, I guess there are a lot of people here that are pretty serious, but it's just normal to me. It doesn't even occur to, cross my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why it's funny because that is literally how life is when you live in a certain area. Because
well, don't you have the most fake boobs per capita in the United States in Scottsdale?
I assume so. But for example, Nikki wants a Range Rover, right? And I happened to see one that was decked out. So I took a picture and I sent it to her of a black one. And she goes, it's a sign from the universe. And I laughed. I said, we're in Scottsdale. If that was a sign from the universe, you get them all day. And literally right when I said that, I said, for example, I took a picture of 2 or 3 Range Rovers all taking a right turn that were right next to me, 1 through 3. I was like, she goes, if I lived there, I wouldn't want one. I'm like, no, you wouldn't.
That's like out here in Vancouver.
You'll all have them.
The joke here in Vancouver is you'll see a Lamborghini with an L sticker on it.
An L.
Oh, because when you're just starting the first 2 years of your license, you have to have an L or an N. I think it's an N. I can't remember.
I'm gonna need you to specify because I don't know what that means.
You have to have this sticker on the back of your car. It's like you're like a new driver. So it's like
you're driving a Lambo.
Some kid driving a Lambo doesn't even know how to fucking drive.
It's so true. But if that's all you know is home, you're like, oh, Lambos are normal.
Yeah, Lambos are normal with fucking N stickers on the back of them. It's crazy. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Remember to like, share, subscribe, comment, ring the bell. I'm excited. I got shoulders today, and I'm looking forward to it, buddy. The shoulder pumps have been really good lately. What's your plan?
I'm off today, and tomorrow's day 1 push on the new program that I have not even read yet.
So I want you to post like the actual workout.
Oh, I'm going to. And today I'm posting everything I eat, pictures on my stories, because I haven't started my log yet. But I just want people to know, like, this is the start, because I am going to actually point everything. I had somebody sarcastically put in my questions, like, what's the cycle? And I'm like, okay, cool. It's 750 test and 500 primo. Now they're going to call me a liar because it's not high enough. And I'm like, well, that's what it is. It's
you didn't mention the 1,000 anadrol a day.
Yeah, well, I always leave that out. You know that.
Just orals.
Yeah, it's just the bottle.
Just orals, just like cookies. Okay. Thanks, Dusty. Remember, everybody, it's just bodybuilding.